Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're working on this little Toro weed eater that a buddy of mine just left in his garage. He left it full of gas, and the gas was bright yellow, so I originally thought if I replaced the gas, I'd get away with it. But that didn't happen. The gas looked horrible. He didn't take care of it, and now we have to rebuild the carburetor. So I'm going to have a long conversation with him about taking care of his tools properly. I mean, he's seen the videos. He knows better. But let's get started.
Ready to go.
Okay, let me start out showing you what it's doing. We'll turn it on. This thing sounds good when it does run. Now I've already got it all primed up. It's actually a little bit warm. So let's start her up. You see the problem here. Now, I did have it running this way a few minutes ago, but in any case, it doesn't matter because we need to redo this one. So we're going to start out by pulling the carburetor off real quick. Let's get a look at what we got here. And since we've already got fresh gas in it, I'm going to go ahead and drain that now. Okay, now that we've got the gas empty, let's go ahead and pull the carburetor off. And believe me, if you're doing this at home, you always want to empty the gas first. It saves you a lot of mess and a lot of aggravation. Every now and again, I'll still make the mistake of not emptying the gas. Okay, this little wire here, if you twist this, you see she pops right off. Okay, and the fuel lines look a little bit old, but I'm not surprised because they've got a few years on them. So we'll go ahead and put fuel lines on it while we're at it. But this is our big job. Let's open her up and see what she's got. Tell you, when you hear this thing run, you're going to be amazed at how nice it sounds. Right now, not so much. But for years, this thing just sounded great and ran great and did everything perfect. And then he let it sit. And the curse of the yellow gas took over. There you go. And there's our gasket. Oh, no, there's our gasket. Looks like we pulled the diaphragm apart. It came apart pretty easy. And that's pretty common when you do this. When you leave gas in it for a long time, ethanol gas is not bad when it's new. It doesn't age well, though. As you can see, when it ages, it takes everything with it. Everything about this is just an absolute mess. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and we'll get some new gaskets. I've already looked this one up based on the numbers on the side of the carburetor, so I knew it was a Walbro K10 WYC-7. And I just searched for WYC-7 rebuild kit, and this came up. Now be careful because other things can come up in the same search. These don't match. So I hold it up to the screen and I look and I compare every single hole on this gasket with every hole on this one to make sure I've got the right one. Because this gasket and the metering diaphragm are the money. They're the reason the carbs fail. So we're going to go ahead and order the one that comes tomorrow for $9 rather than the one that comes day after for $6, because I'm getting ready for vacation and I don't want to have this sitting in the garage the whole time. While we're waiting for parts, this has got an external primer bulb and the primer's in pretty good shape. So we're going to go ahead and replace the fuel lines. It's a little different routing than it normally would be. So we'll get those out of the way. We go ahead and push them in. There we go. Let's see if everything's out. No, we still got a little bit more in there. Okay, we've got all the old fuel and whatnot out of the way. So we're going to run this one straight to the carburetor. It's already got a taper on it, but that was from a previous pull. So we'll put a new taper on it. See, where did we put our little tool? There she is. So we'll run this through and out. We'll run this through and out, like so. Get the line hooked on and just pull it back through. And this one's going to get the fuel filter. So we want to go ahead and put the filter on now. Okay, we got a new fuel filter for it. And this way we can lay it in the tank and make sure it lays exactly where we want it to sit. You want to make sure that it's in the gas when the gas is low. And we'll cut it to about here. Leaves us a little bit extra. You can always cut it shorter later, but you can't cut it longer later. Okay, and the next line, it's going to go from the tank to the primer bulb. There's the primer bulb. The tank to the primer bulb, and then the primer bulb to the carburetor. Now I'm going to check the direction the primer is going. And that side goes into the tank. So we'll go to length. We won't need a very big piece for this. So we'll take it right about here. And when we pull it through, we won't have to worry too much about the little taper that'll be inside the tank, because it just won't affect us. It doesn't matter if it's tapered or straight. And there we go. Now, I guess I didn't think about it. The taper is actually going to be out here, isn't it? And that's the one that'll hook to the primer bulb. And now it's just a matter of waiting until we get the carburetor on. We'll put that there. We'll have one running from the carburetor here, and we're done. So now we have all the parts we need to get this thing up and running. We've got a new gasket and a new diaphragm. And notice the ridges on this. That means the gasket goes against this. And we get her lined up correctly, which is right here. There we go. Perfect. We'll lay our actual diaphragm on top of it. Now we get the fun of putting the carb back together. We've checked to make sure that our screen is clear. We'll lay you on. Then we do our metering diaphragm gasket. And the metering diaphragm, where's the top part at? There it is. And our metering diaphragm, and it goes shiny side down. Lay our cover on, we're good to go. You always want to get all your screws started to make sure that your gaskets and diaphragms and whatnot are all lined up correctly, because you'll feel it bump if they're not. Notice we're going about most of the way in, but we're not tightening it yet. Okay, now that we're all the way in, we can go ahead and torque them down a little bit. One. And we've got a carburetor. Should be perfect. Okay, we're ready to put our carburetor on. Now note this little hole here. That's the negative pressure port. It coincides with a hole on this. When it goes on like this, they line up, and pressure from the exhaust pumps a little diaphragm and makes the fuel flow. So we got a gasket, and we've checked to make sure that this hole is available, and it is, so we know it'll work. Go ahead and hook that on. We'll get our fuel lines back in place, if we can find them. And if you get these lines backwards, don't even think about it. Just go ahead and switch them around. Pull them off the carburetor. There we go. That one goes on a little bit snug, but it goes on pretty good. I'm still holding the gasket in hand. Let's put our bolts in. I'm expecting pretty good things from this one. These Toros are a little bit easier, actually, mostly because the bolts are exceptionally long, because they go deep inside here. Makes it a little bit easier to line stuff up than it would on some other machines. There we go. Get our gasket lined up. Let's layer on it, see what we've got. You can see my fuel lines are a little bit long, but I'll trim those off later. Nice and gentle. Nice and gentle. Now we'll torque it down a little. Okay, she should be ready for fuel. Now we'll put fuel in and make sure the gas is pumping in the correct direction. If it's not, we'll just switch the lines, no problem. Okay, we've already got her primed up, and so let's give her a run. We'll turn the switch on, full choke. Okay, already got a kick, and that's a good sign. Straight up cold, she sounds good. I love the way this thing sounds. Sorry, I love the way this thing sounds. If I were to ever trade my weed eater for a different one, that would be the one I'd trade it for. That little Toro sounds good. Got a nice little crack noise, and it revs up nice and fast. So, all you new people out there, if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. It's free, and that's what we work for. So, thanks for watching, and see you next time.